Bit about how your profession as a principal has changed, since the pandemic started.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that we have been doing this for about almost 2 years or so, and it definitely has changed the way that I think school leaders really do business. The way we lead, the way we manage processes, again, the way we lead people, the way we teach children, the way you provide professional learning so that teachers can be effective. All those things have changed from way back when.
Yeah.
If I were to start with just the way that we do business, even the way that we enter and exit our school, our children were the ones at my school, they run in and they run out in most cases, but now we're having to kind of stagger, how they come in and identify what doors, they actually go in. Of course, we have masks, right? And of course, we were not accustomed to having our face covered. So that kind of mask, if you will,
Yeah.
our ability to connect with children through body language, through the way that we interact and smile, even the way that we interact and engage our parents. It is so, different now, being that we are masked up. The time where you could see and you could see if a person was reaching a point of frustration, and then you would be able to diffuse it. But again, being covered sometimes prevent you from making that connection. I'd also say, culture has always been a big thing, in education. And so particularly at my school, we've always tried to ensure that the culture was right. The climate and the culture were right. And if they were not right, we would dive in deeper to make sure that they were right. And during this time where there's a high level of uncertainty, which have led to a high level of just a whirlwind of emotions, that are always kind of swirling in our building. Sometimes you have to have your fingers on the pulse so that you can go in and really render empathy,
Yeah.
where you need to render empathy and be and walk and do and partner alongside the folks that are in your building as well. So those are kind of some of the major changes that I've experienced, and that I see some of my colleagues, who grapple with it and wrestle with how do we do this thing since the pandemic has changed. And of course, kids learning, right? I know at some point we'll talk about some of those barriers that we might see, but just the way children, are learning now, and some of the gaps that we are experiencing as a result of the pandemic are causing us to see education in a completely different light.
Yeah, that was interesting that you said barriers, because I was going to segue there too. So the barriers, right? Like, what are some of those barriers that you're starting to see right now, especially with, I guess, the height of the pandemic and these different spikes and things like that? Like, what are some of those barriers?
Yeah, I'll probably start with socialization. And I know that sometimes people may think, why would you start there? Learning is social, right? And so we have to be able to, we being children and parents and students, we have to be able to interact with each other in a civil manner. And so I think, again, all of these things that have happened in our society lately, whether it be the lack of justice, the lack of equity, the lack of equality, and those things have found their way, into just the microcosm of our school. Those things that are happening in our world sometimes are mirrored in the interactions and words of folks that we come into contact with on a daily basis. So sometimes it has made it's seemingly difficult sometimes to interact, because folks come in sometimes, on a heightened level,
Yeah.
And so we have to kind of walk them back and say, hey, we're on your side. We are really here for you. More importantly, we are here for your child. So how can we partner together again to make sure that there's a win-win situation for you as a parent and for us as a school? And the us in the school includes, a teacher and an administrator and the child all working together to ensure, their success. Then I would say, if we think about just the learning loss, that our students experience. So you think about a fifth grader now was a second grader at the time of this pandemic. So they almost had a year and a half of uninterrupted education, right? Think about a third grader who was in kindergarten, perhaps, right? Who this is their first time really being inside of a building and in front of a teacher for a long, extended period of time. So learning how to do school. And when you think about schools where there's a large number of children who may not have gone to preschool, right, because of this, and now they're in third grade, you have some significant gaps. And so now as educators, our job has been to clearly identify those students, and then clearly create interventions to be able to close those gaps that were barriers, and really trying to find the right tools and the right methods to be able to meet such large gains as well. And I would say the third and probably final barrier that I'll talk about is just is that personnel barrier. Yeah. Because sometimes as a principal, you wear the face of what's happening on the outside of the school. You wear the face of decisions that truly are being made, and you really don't have a choice, but you have to learn how to lead through that. Understand that you're not the face. And then when someone comes in and say something or put you down or say something about you have to understand that is not you that they're coming at. It's the decisions that have been made. It's the action. It's the frustration. It's all the things that are happening in our world and it's happening in public education that have caused folks inside of our building to just be on a different level. But again, I think it's a great opportunity for us to really lead through that process and really partner with teachers and be clear, with what's happening on the outside, be clear about what's happening on the inside of the building as well, and really walking alongside of them to ensure them to the best of your ability, hey, I got you. I got you. I will cradle you if I have to. I will hold your hand if I have to. But I want you to know that I am in this with you. Yeah.
So just making sure that you offer the appropriate amount of empathy and compassion.
Yeah. I think compassion is that offspring, of empathy. Compassion, being compassionate about somebody says, I care about you. Empathy is that perspective taking that we talked about earlier. I care about you. I got your back. That's what compassion, being compassionate about somebody really says, that I got your back.
Yeah. So not with the pandemic being still active and everything, you can't remove that piece of it because obviously it affects the whole world. But
absolutely.
But what is something that could possibly improve like conditions as far as like from a school standpoint? Like anything that can possibly improve conditions?
Here I go, and I'm a person that typically do not engage in such talk, but I'm about to say this, right? Okay. Politics. However your mind, can conceive that term, if it was not a part of our world, I think it'll do us a lot of justice. I think because it convolutes a lot of things that are happening in our school. In the absence of context, people will filter, what they believe is happening inside of the building. Sometimes my question is that through whose eyes are you seeing that which you are talking about, right? Because I think that if we could bring folks in to be able to see versus having talking spaces where we're just giving words without context does no one, particularly our students, justice or service. It doesn't render any benefit to our teachers who are on the grind both day in and day out, trying to get this thing right. Even in the midst of this pandemic, I think back to when this thing we didn't know anything about it, and everyone was all scared and frightened, right? But yet we wanted teachers to be, as you said earlier, on the front line, on the front line, without giving that space for, you know what? For me to be on the front line, I'm putting my life in danger, right? But then that moral imperative really drives us to go in spite of. It drives us to go really in spite of. So I would say, if I could remove a particular component from our roles as educators and practitioners, it would be the presence of politics.
Yeah. So what are those jewels that you tell, or you may tell new principals starting now in a pandemic, or even new assistant principals that are starting now in a pandemic? Like, what advice would you give those individuals?
I think the first thing would be that, it's doable. The advice is that it is doable. The encouragement would be that, and you can do it. You can do it. I think if you have selected leadership as a passion and your purpose is ingrained or cemented in what you believe you've been called to do, then there's this notion that, listen, you were built for it. You were built for it. So let's go and let's do it. I would say, know that you can be scared, afraid, brave, and courageous, all at the same time. And I don't know a person who would be starting a new journey who wouldn't have a level of fear. I think you don't stay there. And I would definitely say, be a leader who is not only a learner, but one who is reflective. Yeah. You should be able to engage in frequent reflection. Am I living this out? How am I doing? You should be able to have those conversations not only with others, but with yourself. Was today a day that I truly had an impact on someone? And I think I would also encourage them to take care of the people. Take care of your people, from the smallest to the largest, right? Take care of your people. There's this notion that humans are our greatest resources. Well, if they are our greatest resource, we got to take good care of them. I would also say, just understand that this role requires a high level of altruism. You got to put the needs of others before your own. Just and be visible and be present and know that that's going to occur. I'd also say I would choose the balcony all the time, and knowing that as a leader you're going to fall into the basement sometimes, but you get yourself right back up there on the balcony so you'll be able to see and do. And once again, take care of your people. And then lastly, I would just say take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. You can't be healthy and well where you can take care of people. You can't be healthy and well. You can't take care of people and not be healthy and well. And what's this? No, you got to put your mask on first. Put your oxygen mask on first, right? Before you try to save somebody else. And that's not selfish. That's just being smart. And I'll say utilize wisdom and really get you a coach, get a mentor that can really tell you, you know what, Ricardo, you jacked this up today, and this is how we're going to get it right.
Yeah. So since I guess the start of the pandemic also, like, have there been any new benefits for school districts, school administrators, teachers? Like, have there been any new benefits at all or anything rolling out?
I think what I've liked, particularly in the state of Georgia, as well as in our district, there's been some levels of compensation, for teachers and leaders along the way. I think our governor gave teachers money. I know in my district, we also were given kind of a one-time stipend, to really support in this effort. And I think that has gone a long way. I think even at the height of the pandemic, all the PPE, the protection, those things were vital. They were too much vital to our health and our safety. And they gave us a little bit of security, where they could. But I do think the fact that the monetary help, and then again, having those protective measures in our school serve to help us as well.
Yeah. So last question. The best part about being a principal. What is the best parts for you about being a principal?
The best part. Wow. It's a lot of best. There are a lot of best parts to being a principal. I'll tell you, I think being a school principal for me has been one of the most rewarding periods of my life. You get the opportunity to really impact children who will go on to impact the world. I think you probably think back to a teacher that you've had that had an impact upon you, whether that impact was not a good impact, it was an impact, right? But a teacher, a leader in your building truly impacts those folks who are around you. So I get the opportunity to impact students first, and the adults as well. And so going to school, excited to do those two things, to impact children, and knowing that I'm impacting a world. I may not be able to reach all of them, but I know that there's somebody in that building that's saying, you know what, that's my principal. I still remember my elementary school principal, Miss Felder. And my primary school was Miss Felder. And Mr. McCullough was my elementary principal. So I can name you all of my principals, right? Because they had a significant impact in my life. And so did my teachers. And I never thought I would be in the role of a principal, but leadership came calling. And I'm glad that it chose me, because I think I get an opportunity to work, as you said earlier, I get an opportunity to live out my purpose, live out my call, live out my passion, all in the soil of impact, impacting children. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to thank you for your work, okay? Because you and your staff and teachers in general and principals in general are doing great work, especially with everything that's going on in this world right now, okay? Like all the barriers getting stacked against you, right? Like you guys are doing great work. So I truly thank you for what you guys do.
Well, you're so welcome. And thank you for really providing this platform where someone like myself and others can come on and just share with you. I think the realities of what's happening, in schools and in institutions and in our society and in hospitals and wherever the work is happening. I thank you for bringing it to the forefront of all audiences.
Yeah. So thank you again, Dr. Ricardo Quinn. I guess we'll try to have another one of these conversations again another day. Okay.
I look forward to it.
All right.